We've had two requests to speak from the audience. Don't move if you don't mind for a minute. Mr. Gardner from the Delta Vision Foundation. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you.
Pull the mic up a bit, Chuck. Thank you.
It doesn't go any higher. So.
Or either that or shrink.
Have a seat. Charles Gardner, Delta Vision Foundation. Thank you, Jonas, for the acknowledgement that we were part of the catalyst for this. We have been participating and definitely a supporter of this process. I wanted to go in a little bit more detail to of kind of what we're doing within the process, because I think it addresses some of the questions that you raised. So we submitted a proposal in this process to integrate a number of the existing proposals and create a common theme around through Delta conveyance that would integrate the co-equal goals of increasing water supply reliability, improving the ecosystem, while protecting the Delta as a place. That was received very favorably and has resulted in a smaller work group that has, as Jonas and Tom talked about, brought together the water agencies and the reclamation districts to start to work on what levee projects achieve those goals and how do we sequence them, what are the priorities. And that just in 2 work group meetings has been very productive. That has identified the Middle River Corridor as the first priority, the Old River Corridor as the second priority, identified what kinds of ecosystem improvements could be incorporated that would be consistent with protecting fish, but also provide some habitat. So I think that gets at how do we get to priorities, is to really think about how do we integrate across the different chapters of the Delta Plan, if you will, and how do we bring together the people who have those interests and develop specific proposals. So I don't know that we're going to come out with prioritized islands, but we're going to come pretty close to priorities of these are areas where there's immediate funding available. It's the highest priority to provide seismic protection. There's landowner agreement. So we're getting close to that, and I think it achieves the goals that you identified in the questions that you were asking. I also wanted to touch on and just mention also that we are starting to work on the storage issue in the same way. We're not as far along on that, but that's clearly another critical issue in terms of near-term actions around storage. I wanted to touch on one other element that comes out in these discussions, and that is that this probably isn't a surprise, but there is a high degree of reluctance to define projects in a way that would involve agencies. By that I mean that the agencies are perceived as a barrier to getting things done. And it influences all of the discussions. It influences the design of the projects. And I think in the long run that's not going to be a good thing. So I'm happy to see that one of your objectives in the near-term actions is to test new governance procedures. And so I would really encourage you to think creatively, and I hope all of the rest of us can help you do this, but how can we streamline and make more efficiency in the funding processes, the approval processes, et cetera. And I think that's where you folks can really chart a new course. And there's a high degree of demand out in the stakeholder community for that. So I want to make sure I wanted to reinforce that for you.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner.